Welcome to the Happy Disruptors podcast. If you're a creative thinker with an unconventional approach to your industry, you just might be a happy disruptor. Join your friends at the Great Outdoors Foundation for honest conversations about tackling critical issues like conservation with an uncritical disposition. If you like to smile and get things done, this is the podcast for you.
Hello and welcome back to the Happy Disruptors podcast. I'm Katie.
And I'm Hannah.
And really excited about today's conversation. As you know, it's the very first day of 2026. And so we, like all of you, are planning for the year ahead. So Hannah, obviously you've been with the Great Outdoors Foundation. This year will be your 10th anniversary.
Yeah.
Why do you think it's important for nonprofits to strategically plan for impact?
Yeah, I mean, I think that obviously that is why nonprofits exist is for impact. But there's so much day-to-day pressure, and there's so many things that you could react to depending on what space you are in. And so strategically planning helps you maintain like pinpoint accuracy on what you want to accomplish, but it also provides guardrails to allow you to say no to other things. And especially when a nonprofit is first starting out or maybe going through that rebirth, they've become a mature organization and they're going back through a rebirth. Having those guardrails to increase focus is incredibly important, because depending on what the space is that you're working on, there's always some sort of crisis. I mean, nonprofits exist to make things better or to fill a need. Yeah. And so we are uniquely positioned to be reactive if you're not really careful. And when you start to be reactive, you start to sort of whittle away on what could be your power, your superpower of impact. And so, and I think it also allows you to allocate resources, and not increase the workload on the staff. You're usually already resource strapped as much as possible because you're trying to put as much resources into the mission. So that allows you to do that.
Yeah. So you already touched on this a little bit, but there are lots of very pressing day-to-day concerns in a nonprofit. Yeah. So how do you balance, or how do you prioritize maybe working in the business versus working on the business, or maybe vice versa? I might have said that backwards.
Yeah. So I think in the beginning, it's really just doing the next right thing. It's looking at, if I could do X, Y, Z, that would allow us to have more impact, and then to focus on X, Y, Z. I constantly have lists going of things that I want to do that I know are not the right times, but I start to create, and this is something I've learned within the last 5 years, is now to start to create triggers, right? So once we reach X amount of reserves, or once we've mastered this workflow, then we will introduce that. And that one gives you a little bit of encouragement to get to that next level and to not let things linger. But it also allows sort of that hope that I'm going to be able to do what my vision is. I just need to put these pieces in place. So that's really one of the things that I think has helped us tremendously, is having those triggers in place. But I also reserve time where I just sort of think about stuff, right? And I tried to do it weekly. It doesn't happen as much anymore. But, at least once a month, having, an afternoon. And I might be, outside walking. I might be doing something else. But that's the time for everything to start to come together.
Yeah, absolutely. And you started to articulate this, and obviously if you're working in the nonprofit sector, you know that many nonprofit organizations have a strategic plan, and they're updating that maybe 5, 10, sometimes even more frequently than that, as far as like timing goes. How do you ensure that when you develop a strategic plan, it doesn't just collect dust on a shelf?
Yeah, I mean, I think, first of all, you may have a 10-year vision, but I don't think that you can have a 10-year strategic plan. So I've been with the organization for 10 years, and I think about how drastically not only our organization has changed, but how drastically the world that we work in changes, right? And it seems to be, since COVID, it seems to be accelerating, that pace of change accelerates. And so we have more 10-year visions and 5-year strategic plans. But even within those strategic plans, there are more markers of what we want to get to. And then each year we have a strategic plan for that year. And we kind of have it, the roadmap out there, but we're very deliberate. This year we're trying something new where we're kicking the year off with a work session. Everyone is in the office. We are having the initial vision setting meeting, and then we go over all those goals and how we're going to get there. And that week is just to do the planning, whether it's the project management, it's to make the critical decisions that maybe we haven't had a chance to make with all of us together. And it's a lot of cross-departmental work as well. But then we create dashboards, and they're not always great. We're getting better, but the dashboards aren't really, but we're getting there. We're at least measuring the metrics to get to that point. And a lot of those are those triggers that we talked about, that allow us to do that. So I think as much as you can operationalize your strategic plan within your daily operations, your quarterly, we report on where we're at quarterly to the board. We quarterly update that, and we can tell by the percentages of where we're at. So you accomplish what you measure. And so putting it within the workflows, I think, is incredibly important.
Yeah, I think the thing that's been most interesting to me working with GOF is we have these strategic plans that we are anticipating it will cover X amount of time. And then in reality, a lot of times it moves a lot faster. So I love that perspective change of, instead of looking at, just by the end of the year, we're wanting X, Y, and Z done. It's what's the next right thing that needs to happen? And also, how are we looking at the next 3 to 5 steps after that, so that when we have the funding or the resources or the opportunity, we can move forward at that pace, rather than for all of the type A people like me, well, I didn't plan for it to happen exactly in that time. But I think it's so important, and it's what has allowed us to be really nimble.
Yes. And I think that attaching those triggers to funding and some other things allows you to be more proactive and not reactive, because you're coming to funders saying, this is what we want to accomplish, and this is where we need to be to do that. And it's a different conversation than trying to fit your work into a grant. And I don't know if it's just how we just have really incredible donors, partners, and investors, but that has been our conversation. We are very rarely trying to fit what we do into something else. Instead, we have relationships with these investors and donors that allow us to reach that vision together. I think the other thing that really changed the Great Outdoors Foundation, and I think this is when you and Michelle and everyone came on board, one, it was having, the resources and hiring great people. But I started to really focus in on building the backbone of GOF, the HR, the payroll, the financials, all of those things. And you've done such a good job on this on marketing, where we're constantly, the first 3 years, it was, I wouldn't say a hot mess, but it was trying to figure out where our gaps were, where we needed more support. Maybe we needed to change to a different partner. But getting to that point where the usual business is humming in such a way that you don't need to worry about that. And that for a couple years became more of an obsession of mine than even mission, because without that backbone, we would never reach where we needed to go. And so there was a really interesting time at GOF where it was really 2 solid years of operations. Let's get operations to the point where we have all the process in place, all the guardrails that we know when our audit comes, we've done everything correctly. We know in our financials, we've done everything above board, to the fact that nothing will be flagged, just to get to that point where everything ran seamlessly. There's still some ups and downs there, but I think that's where sometimes nonprofits get nervous about it and they get scared of it. And it's also a lot of expertise that you're usually not hired for.
Yeah.
And so that's where you need to rely on your board. You need to find good partners. The Community Foundation here has been an excellent partner.
Absolutely.
We have former accountants on our board. We have great legal team that's helped to put us in that position where I go to bed at night and I know that I don't have to worry about any of that, that it's all taken care of, and I know our financials are solid. And I also will know if our financials aren't solid well ahead of time, right?
Yeah, that's so true.
And so, that was, not like the most exciting 2 years, but I will say it's been the part that has helped us in our strategic plan even more than anything else, to get to the point where we can have a bigger impact.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, you think about like the building of a house, like if the foundation isn't set and secure, like it really doesn't matter how pretty it is on the outside.
Right.
So I think, yeah, absolutely. Like you and Michelle and our accounting partners and the board have done such a great job of like shoring up all of the internal financial checks and balances, the operational checks and balances, and that really allows the rest of the organization to operate with this like efficiency of when you're doing things routinely, it's just like brushing your teeth every day. Like you don't think about it anymore.
Right. And, now we have the system set up that when it comes to audit, everything that they need is there. We don't have to do anything extra because, one, we've done all the checks and balances, but we've also done the filing and the coding and all of it, that it should all be there, which saves, it probably saves, weeks of time, which is amazing.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, you bring up board, and it feels like you're just teeing me up for each of these questions. We didn't coordinate on this ahead of time. She's just that good. Board members, stakeholders, partners, donors, they all play a role in informing the vision of the organization. How do you prioritize and make sure that the feedback that you are getting isn't, back to what you were talking about earlier, like reactive to one person's perspective, or maybe like too responsive at like a very granular level?
Yeah. So this is something that I learned early on in working at the Great Outdoors Foundation and some of my previous positions. I think that if the first time the board hears about something as a strategic direction is at the strategic planning session, I've already failed. So, I spend a lot of time throughout the year checking in with each board member. That might be through committees, that might be through meetings, that might be through coffee, but just, I spend a lot of time talking with the board and our stakeholders. So our strategic planning session for 2026, our board strategic planning session was in August, but we started the conversations probably in end of May, beginning of June. We started it within the staff. We started it with stakeholders and board members. So it really is this pre-work time that is crucial to have success. And so I make sure that I have those conversations with those stakeholders, those board members, of what I'm thinking, that I hear their concerns. And then we have within our board meetings, we leave the last 20 minutes up for just strategic conversations. So if there is something that maybe the entire board isn't in agreement of, or maybe we don't feel like they have the necessary education background on the the whatever topic it is, then we'll spend that time talking about it.
Yeah.
And so by the time we get to strategic planning session, we've already had a lot of these conversations. We're getting ready to launch a new service. I don't know. Can I talk about that?
We can talk about it very vaguely.
In generalities.
Yes.
So one of the things that we do is we work a lot with other smaller nonprofits, especially in the conservation space that maybe need some of that back office help that we've spent so much time with. And so there is a tremendous need for that. So that is not an easy endeavor, nor how we were doing it was an easy endeavor. And so a lot of time, so we've spent almost 18 months doing a lot of research with legal, with accounting, with auditing, with the board, with other stakeholders, with other community partners that we've never partnered with. And we keep giving updates to the board and we keep having discussions. Are we on the right path? Are we on the right path? And so sometimes we're okay going slow in some areas to make sure we're achieving the goal. So, I during my review process, I'm judged on, have we met the overall budget, and then to goal, how we are to our strategic planning goals, and everything that I do, in my review is all to the mission and the strategic plan goals. We had to back up on this one a little bit to make sure that we were doing the right thing. But that was the right decision to do, right? Yeah. We're going to have a better product. We're going to be better partners by doing that. And so I think that having those constant conversations is really important. And I think I've said this before when we talk about our impact with our partners. It's always a million conversations, a million coffees, but that really is like, I know which of our partners and our board members that I need to have a one-on-one conversation, or they're not going to maybe voice things.
Yeah.
I know some will say whatever they want to say in group. It's just knowing them all. But they all have valuable input, and they're on our board because we value what they're bringing and the decision making. So I sometimes laugh because sometimes in those board meetings, once we get there and you think, oh, we're going to be making this monumentous decision, there's really no discussion, but it's because we've had so many conversations before that, and it's gone through, different committees and things like that. So there's not really a lot that we do that the board doesn't know about. I might sometimes forget to tell them, like, oh yeah, we did that. Sorry. I know we talked about it for 18 months.
Well, and I think that building of trust, one thing that I hear from peers in the nonprofit sector, and I'm sure you have heard this as well, is, my board is getting really involved with the specifics of how we deliver the mission. And that's a hard balance to strike, right? Of how much you involve them and how much they entrust you to just carry the mission on their behalf. So I think that process of building trust is so critical because, they're not necessarily worried about the specific tactics of what we're doing on the day-to-day or trying to manage from afar, like the processes that we're using. They trust us with the mission, and they trust us to do it in the way it's going to be most effective for the organization.
Yeah, and I think there's a couple things that have helped build us to that point. One is we had some great help in the beginning of when I came on and setting up. The board was already there, but putting more structure and governance around it. And Lori Howe, who is with SharePoint Marketing, and she works a lot with nonprofits, she helped us. Like, we had a 3-day meeting where it wasn't 3 days in a row, but we had 3 consecutive day-long meetings in what is the board's role? What is the committee's role? And so developing committee charters, developing board job descriptions, really delineating where those markers were. And even to this day, like, we have a couple new board members coming on board in January. We have a board training session where we, sort of have the GOF 101, and we build that up. But from the very beginning, the board should be aware of what their job is, what our job is. And so that's the good foundation. I think the other piece is I have been incredibly transparent, and I've encouraged our employees to be incredibly transparent. So if there ever is a problem or an issue, or if we're not going to meet something, or I think we're not going to meet a certain goal, they all know about it beforehand. And oftentimes I'm telling them about stuff that doesn't actually end up happening, something else, we're not there. But if I start to feel like we're not going to hit this goal, or this could be an issue, I tell the board immediately.
Yeah.
And they have a fiscal responsibility, a judicial responsibility. That's not the right word, but fiduciary. I don't know, something. They have a responsibility.
Governance. Yeah. Absolutely.
Governance responsibility. And I just want to make sure that they're getting all the information, because that's how I like to operate, right? That's how I hope my staff gives me sort of transparency in what's going on.
Yeah.
And I think that goes a long ways. And then also I think it makes them feel better when we have like those triggers that we've talked about. They know that we're not going to enter into something unless we know we can deliver, or it's a very calculated risk.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's great advice. And it is both up to the board and their oversight, and down with staff, which I feel like is so critical, because there's just complete transparency up and down the organizational structure. So we talk a lot and have talked a lot about value-driven leadership, and obviously our values kind of maybe give our mission a certain flavor.
Yeah.
So how do you balance certain values that might seemingly be in contradiction with one another? And of course, I'm thinking of like excellence and innovation. Right. Excellence, you're doing something really, really well, but innovation, you're doing something for the first time. Like, how do you bring those values together and weigh them against the approach that we're taking to our mission?
Yeah, I mean, it's a gut feel. I don't know.
Fair.
No, I'm just kidding. I'm like, I don't know. Well, like, let's talk about excellence and innovation, right?
Yeah.
So, excellence, I want us to deliver a high product for mission. I have a very high standard in my mind of what excellence means. Yeah. Excellence to our stakeholders, to those that we have, relationships with, and to our investors, and to our board members, and to our employees. And to me, it's, excellence of we're always going to outperform. We're always going to do the most, and we're always going to operate with mission in mind and vision in mind. And so, excellence in that is delivery of those things, which means that you can't do the same thing all the time.
Yeah.
And so excellence cannot be stagnant, because you're not responding, or you're not pushing everything forward. But sometimes the innovation is what gets you to that excellence. Yeah. It's like good to great, right? Yeah. You could either be good or you can be great, and there will be some stumbling points then. I also think that we have that expectation, right? The reason why we have so many checks and balances with our financial procedures, the reason why we have so many checks and balances in strategy and delivering strategy, is because we expect we're human.
Yeah.
Like, I've never done this before, right? Yeah. Like, I don't, and I'm also not, I don't have strengths in all of these things that you need to have strengths in. And so a part of building those checks and balances is to allow for those mistakes to happen. So I feel like we have a very big culture of, we expect you to mess up. That's why you have 3 steps to make sure, we've coded everything correctly, it's reconciled, et cetera. And so we expect people to make mistakes, and that's okay. And you have to do that. But we're going to fix what we can. We're going to systemize as much as we can, but we can't stay the same. I was at sort of this think tank on conservation financing, and one of the men there, I'm forgetting his name right now, said something that was, I think I've just been repeating in my brain since, and it's evolution for the revolution. So there's a big argument or discussion debate in conservation right now about should we have measured change, right? Like small amounts, small increments of success on large acres, or should you go deep on some acres, or should you be not trying to get incremental success? You should be going for the revolutionary change. And I feel that it's both, that you have to plan for the incremental change to get you where you need to go so that you are ready when you have the opportunity in front of yourself to have the big revolutionary change. And we've seen that with Great Outdoors Foundation over and over again. You know, we've invested in the organization in critical times. So then when a larger mission delivery presented itself, we were ready to take advantage of that.
Yeah, definitely. It makes me also think of like collaboration and stewardship. You know, we might take a partnership opportunity that is actually way more beneficial for the other partners involved, but we do that because collaboration is one of our main values, right? So even though from like a financial perspective, it may not be like a tremendous source of revenue for us, it's still benefiting partners who are working on the mission and advancing that shared vision.
Yeah, we do that a lot.
Michelle's making us a little better there, right?
But we do that a lot.
Yeah.
And, you know, that was a hard, that's a hard line for me to walk. I'm not going to, I'm not going to mince words or try to pretend that it's not, because we're mission driven, right? And so if I see an opportunity that is going to accelerate the metrics of conservation, but maybe it's not going to be beneficial to GOF in financial ways, or people might not even know we do it. And that's a lot of things, right? Like our name is usually not attached to about 95% of what we do. I have this just sort of overwhelming faith, Pollyanna, thought that if you do the right thing for mission, people pay attention and they see that, and it will come back to you in the end. Now, as we've grown bigger and we have more staff and we're trying to do bigger things, I've had to sort of temper that a little bit in the sense of I have to invest in the organization to get us to the point where we want to make the impact that we have, which means I have to be really judicial on how we spend that money and where we make the investments. And so it's a constant balance, because I never want to be the organization that's like, sorry, we're not going to help you. It's a great idea, but because that's not being a good partner. That's not being mission focused. And in the end, I don't think that the scarcity mentality helps anyone. I think that with conservation, we've always relied on the scarcity mentality, but really it's an abundance, and that the more we do, the more we're going to be able to bring more people into the fold and raise all boats.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we have sort of alluded to this, but, GOF has seen a tremendous growth trajectory over the course of your tenure with the organization. When you started, you were the sole contracted employee, and now we're at about a dozen team members. So I'm curious how you, as the leader, it's very easy when you are the only person to carry the essence of the mission of the organization and the values and the vision, and it's very clear, and you are very tuned into that. How do you instill that in the staff? Me being the staff as well, so I have a little bit of a perspective on this.
I asked Katie to do it.
But how do you, from top of the organization, bottom of the organization, partners, all of the folks who are involved in doing this work, how do you share that in a way that gives them ownership, authority, and passion?
Yeah. So this has been interesting, because I think that I've always just taken the approach of like model the way, right? But as we've grown bigger, there's more levels between me and some employees. And so although I see them every day and we talk every day, it's not like we get to see each other in work situations, right? And so just recently, I kind of noticed that, right? Like, I don't necessarily have the opportunity during interaction to catch someone and be like, you're doing fantastic. Like, I'm so happy that you did XYZ. That's really what we want to show for the organization. So a couple of years ago, we went through a process with Mike Wagner from White Rabbit Group. And this was the precursor to our rebranding, in which he helped us derive what are our values and things. And I think that we had lived values, and I think that I thought I knew what they were, but that doesn't mean we've ever named them or anything else. And our staff at that time was what, like 5 people maybe?
Yeah, I think so.
So it was a small group. We were all working basically in one room together.
Literally.
I had like a little like office door, but that was about it.
Yeah, exactly. It was close quarters. There was not a lot of like replication in there wasn't really departments at that time. It was like you were the department, so there was a lot of
So it was like everyone knew it because we worked together. I do have a funny story. I'm going to take us off topic.
Okay.
Were you there when I locked myself out of the office? And so there was like one little key to get into the office because I had all the financials and everything in there.
Yeah.
And the door had gone against the wall and pressed the lock in. So we couldn't get in, and my keys were in there. So we call the management, and he had to... This is like how not safe this was. He just not safe, just not secure. Like, we have much more secure measures now. I think it was that moment that I was like, oh, we need better security in here. He climbed up and he just popped the ceiling tile out and then popped the ceiling tile on the other side, just climbed up and
over. Oh my gosh.
Don't worry, everything's locked up.
It's all,
Fort Knox in there.
Yeah, exactly. There's no way you're getting in now. That's so funny.
We've come a long ways. Anyways, so we were close quarters, but we sent out that survey. Kate, I'm telling Katie like she did this. So, and
I remember.
Yeah. I don't know if you remember this, Katie. You're like, I actually did it.
No,
I'll let you tell this.
No.
You tell this part about the survey.
Oh, yeah. Well, just like sent out this survey ahead of our rebrand, and we wanted to know, like, this is what we think we are, but we want to know what our stakeholders, our donors, our board members, what you see and perceive. And you've heard this anecdote before. That's where the Happy Disruptors came from. And we basically did like word cloud clusters around key themes, and that's how we came up with our values.
Yeah,
which is really cool.
And they saw exactly what we saw. I mean, so our values are innovation, collaboration, and stewardship, and that's sort of what my feeling was from the beginning. Yeah. That is what our stakeholders saw. There were other things in there, but that was by and far the most repeated values. And Mike Wagner has this fantastic sort of process in which then you personify that value, and then you treat it as, okay, if I'm going to deliver on my values, I need to imagine this person and who is that person. And so is everything I'm doing something that person would be receptive to? Is that what they would? And I think that's been so fantastic because it gives us sort of like a touch point. Like, are we doing the right things? And so now we train on that. It's on the onboarding for new hires. It's actually in our reviews and our career levels. So if you want to go from one career level to another, it shows how you, within those values, demonstrate that to be able to go to the next career level. And it's in our reviews, and it's in our strategic plan and our reporting to the board of how we're delivering on those things. And so, and I realized just recently, and I brought it up in a conversation with you, is like, we got to go back. Like, we have new people that have only been here for a year. We maybe haven't gone back to it as much. Yeah. So we're having a whole sort of refresher during our work week. And I think it's just continuously finding ways to ingrain that into your culture. And so I think we have some things that we're going to do together that, But I think, catching people in what they're doing is probably the most powerful way to do that. And so trying to figure out how to do that is really important.
Yeah, I love that. All right. We have come to our favorite part of the show.
Are you going to whiteboard this time?
I'm not going to.
Oh my gosh, so much pressure.
It's very specific to you personally.
Oh no.
So as we mentioned, this year, 2026, will be Hannah's 10th anniversary with the organization. We just wrapped up our 30th anniversary. What advice would you give to Hannah Inman in 2016? Or if that's too specific, what advice would you give a nonprofit leader who is, single employee as they are approaching, planning for their impact?
Okay, I'll do both.
Okay, perfect. While Hannah is writing that or drawing, she's also an excellent artist, so we
okay.
I would love to see the drawing too. Make sure to subscribe and share this episode wherever you are listening. We drop a new episode every single week. So make sure to tune in again for the 2026 season of the Happy Disruptors podcast. You can also follow along with what we're doing on all major social platforms and subscribe to our newsletter. We just do monthly updates on what GOF and its partners are up to. So we hope that you will check us out there.
Okay.
All right.
So this is a picture of me sleeping with Z's. And I will say that there were so many sleepless nights, or I would just wake up in the middle of the night, especially when we were doing the fundraising for Icon and getting like the first part of Icon started. There was just so many times where I'm like, this is going to fail. And what is it going to do to the project, to the organization, to my career? There was just so many moments like that. And so many moments of like, are we going to meet this goal? Am I going to meet this goal and be able to hire someone? Am I going to be able to meet the budget? There were so many times of that I just say, like, don't worry about it. It's going to happen. Get your sleep. That's more important than worrying about something you can't control at 3 a.m.
Yeah, that's so true.
I hope you guys have noticed there's less 3 a.m. emails now.
That is true. If it's a 3 a.m. email from Hannah, it's probably actually phishing.
Yeah.
It's probably someone pretending to be
Yeah.
Hannah.
I mean, there was a time where I was constantly emailing at 3 a.m. Like, not that I would expect people to email me back, but it was like I had to get these things out of
your mind,
my mind, so that I could go back to sleep and stuff. And I am glad that I've matured past that.
Well, it's critical. I mean, it was probably a part of the growth process.
Yes, very much so. Yeah. And also just like, growing up and being like, okay, like I'm still going to wake up in the morning. I'm still going to have my family.
Yeah.
Like the world's not going to end because I didn't close this grant. And then what I would tell any other nonprofit leader is that you have to have focus and do the next right thing for your organization. And if that means telling other people no or not right now, that's okay. Yeah. You have to build it for what your vision is to execute. So next right thing.
Yeah, I like that. It's a great thing to end on.
Yeah.
Thanks so much for joining. We will see you guys next time.